Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.
Live from Channel 5 studio in Belize City, it's Open Your Eyes, Start Your Morning Right with your hosts, April Martinez and Desani Caetano.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm April Martinez.
And I am Isani Caetano. Good morning.
Good morning, Belize, and good morning, Isani.
Good morning, April.
Good morning. It is Wednesday.
Yes.
It's already, January the 8th.
Yes.
Already.
Time flies fast.
8 days into the new year.
Yes,
and since I hadn't seen you yet, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my friend. I know, you're right.
It's already an eventful 8 days of 2025, if you will. There have been a lot of horrific issues and situations here in Belize and around the world. But there have also been some very enlightening, information. There's been a lot of enlightening conversations around the world. I think that for the most part, I've not been as much on the social media as I think we as on the media we would need to be. But I'm very happy to say that regardless of the fact that I haven't really been on social media that much, conversations around what takes place and the different topics and so forth never miss a beat getting into my
I've done
onto my
fairly
desk.
well for someone who is not necessarily on social media.
You're not.
I think the fact that I work in the real media
We'll have a conversation about that later. We will.
Brings me up to speed with a lot of stuff that I need to know.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm able to curate what I take in. We've had this conversation where a lot of people just scroll for scrolling's sake. And it's a pastime. For some people, it has become sort of like an addiction or something that they do subconsciously. They're just scrolling. I try my best to stay away from that and meaningless conversations.
Yeah.
Right? It's not to knock on anybody who enjoys the social media experience. It's simply to say that, the way we consume information is one of the most personal things you can do, right? And that's the reason why, for me, I value one-on-one conversations in person. Right. I think over the phone, chatting, social media, 5,000 miles away is the most impersonal thing you could do.
I find that so interesting, though, because for somebody that works in the media and you kind of have to know everything that's happening all the time, and one of the fastest ways that people do that now is through all of these various social media fronts. So it's very interesting that you don't necessarily have social media and you don't use that to gather intel. It's I'm not saying it's very different from, I guess, this generation now that, TikTok has something that's called auto scroll, where it just scrolls for you. Yes, it just scrolls for you.
That's how far we've come.
It's insane, really, the way that we utilize these different avenues to gather information. But I find it very interesting that for somebody that does work in the media, you don't utilize those sources to gather intel.
Like I said, being able to network and being able to be resourceful in terms of how you gather information, for me, has worked in my favor. I'm not saying that I wouldn't subscribe to, I'm not saying that I don't see the relevance in doing so. But like I said, I prefer curating my own experience in terms of how I interact with information.
Yeah, and I think that's why when we sit here and we talk about the what's buzzing topics and so forth, we ask our viewers, tell us topics that perhaps we haven't heard of, or the topics that you find relevant and important. Because I think at the end of the day, the way that we've been sharing information for the past 20, 30 years has evolved so much that I think a refreshing conversation with one-on-one person is definitely something that we need to have more.
Before we jump into our What's Buzzing conversation this morning, I just want to kind of go a little bit further in this brief conversation. Simply to say that, you know, I want people to understand how powerful words are, particularly in the written and oral form. I say that because in the context of being on social media and scrolling and what have you, I think oftentimes from what I've seen, people don't read as much as they perhaps should. They simply go to the TikTok and Instagram and the shorts and what have you, and they consume that information differently.
Yes.
Right? But when we sit down and we actually read something and we digest it and we form our own understanding and interpretation of what we've read, that is food for the brain.
Yeah.
And that kind of nourishment, I would argue, you can't get simply from watching a YouTube short or a TikTok.
No, I have to agree
or
with
what
you.
have you, right?
And I take it further. And I think that one of the biggest lessons that I learned when I was a former educator was that I think when we don't take in this information, read it, analyze it, and have an opinion, it takes away those vital critical thinking skills, those analytical skills that I think we need in order to consume information that's out there now. Because, and we'll have a conversation about this later on, where everything that we see on social media, for some reason, people take it as fact and faith. And we don't necessarily ask the relevant questions that we need to ask when we get information, particularly where is this source coming from and how factual is it? How do you know it's true? Who are your authors? And all of these different questions that you should ask when we're talking about very important information, right? And so with that said, Isani, why don't we just jump straight into our What's Buzzing and talk about analyze some topics that are up for discussion this morning. Let's get into What's Buzzing. All right, Isani, we do have a lot of topics that are trending right now online and in the news at the moment. So let's talk about home first, and then we can take it out to an international front. One of the bigger topics that were on the news last night, actually, was this confrontation, if you will, on our Belizean waters, particularly with members from the Belize Coast Guard, Tide, and allegedly these Guatemalans that were doing illegal fishing in our water. So
there are a couple things that are of concern with respect of the incident that happened in Belize's territorial waters yesterday. One is the issue of gill nets, right? We've established by law that the use of gill nets is prohibited in this country.
Yes.
And so if we're to go by what the Coast Guard and what Tide Rangers are saying, that they recovered so many feet, perhaps 600 feet or so of gill nets. You could imagine what that does to our marine ecosystem in terms of arguably the wholesale pillaging of fish and other sea creatures. Right? So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is the fact that they are saying that shots were fired. Not necessarily in their direction, but shots are fired. And there was a pursuit up to where these individuals entered into Guatemalan waters. But it is concerning simply because if you look at it, it's only been 2 or so weeks since an incident between the Belize Coast Guard and another Guatemalan vessel, I believe belonging to the Guatemalan Armed Forces, but they were describing it not necessarily as a gunboat, but as a hydrological vessel of some sort. The point that I'm making is, it would seem that within the span of 2 weeks, we've had 2 incidents where we've come into contact with Guatemalans, either military officials or in this case civilians who were fishing illegally or had entered illegally into Belize's territorial sea space, right? And it is concerning because it's that particular area that you would argue is being targeted, right? This area, when you look at its strategic location, which is the area of the Zapadilla Keys, which includes Hunting Keys and the Corona Reef and all of that, is being disputed in a 3-way claim, right? For those who would have been following what's been taking place before the World Court, you have Belize and Guatemala and their territorial dispute, and then you have Honduras that signed on sometime after to lay claim over the same piece of territory. And so all of this is happening, which makes this a sort of an area that is under question, and how it is being governed, how it is being protected, and how it is being utilized for resources, in this case marine resources and what have you, is something that we all look at closely because of the nature of the situation at hand, right? So when we heard yesterday that there was this incident out at sea, and I will credit PGTV for, again, the use of social media to put this all out there, that there was something that had happened with the Tide Rangers, the Coast Guard, and of course these alleged Guatemalan fishermen. Automatically for us, at least from the media's perspective, we jumped on it for the same reason that I mentioned to you earlier. This has, an incident such as this, not necessarily exactly alike, but an incident out at sea in the
same area
just recently happened. And so when we spoke with the Rear Admiral yesterday and he put into context what took place, and we spoke with the executive director of Tide, and he also shared from their perspective what happened, it is something that all of us should be following keenly, right? In light of, as I've mentioned, what is taking place before the ICJ between the two countries, primarily.
Yeah, and it's one would think that because right now we're in this international court, that this particular area would be off limits for all 3 parties involved, for the moment anyway. And it's a little bit concerning as well, Isane, because ever since the new president got elected in Guatemala, we've been having amicable relationships, Belize and Guatemala. They've come here, we've gone over there. It seems that our foreign ministers are really having good conversations. It seems that our 2 leaders are having good conversations, and so it brings me to wonder what type of information is being spewed in Guatemala. We can only speak on our behalf here as the media here and how we talk about these types of incidents, right? This is how we educate the public when we have these types of incidents. We come here, we give the facts for what they are, we present it to the viewers, and then people can have an opinion for themselves as to the situation that's at hand. I'm not sure exactly, and I'm saying this because in the past, prior to us going to ICJ, when you would go deep past Melchor people, past Petén, go deep into the city of Guatemala, there's a different feel of this ICJ dispute. There's a different feel of Belize when you go deeper into Guatemala. And there's a deeper feeling of the type of, not just education through media, but education in school, social and so forth, the way that Guatemala perceives Belize and Belizeans. And
well, so what has been sort of the mantra for them for all these many years is Belize es nuestro.
Yes.
And so to expand on what you're saying, the further inland you go, it's a different understanding or a different philosophy of the relationship between Belize and Guatemala.
Right.
No, I'll say that compared to other neighboring communities, right? So perhaps residents in nearby Melchor don't necessarily feel the same way because they interact with us on a regular basis. There was a point in time down south, for instance, where the residents of Barranco Village, people who are in the area of the Tamash and the Sarstoon, used to go over into Guatemala, and there was this cordial civilian relationship.
Yeah, we have
right? Now all of that has changed with the whole Sarstone Island claim and the GAF sort of exerting its military presence in that particular area. And so, you know, when you talk to older people who are from the South, they would tell you, we used to go across into Sarstone, you know, and things was good. Now, all of that has changed considerably.
And you kind of think about, and this is where when we talk, and this particular issue kind of span into different other topics when we're talking about the indigenous communities that live along the border and their relationship with the other persons across the border and so forth. And I bring it up because when you think about the reason why certain persons from Guatemala feel like they can come, right? They feel like they're able to, they're allowed to come and they fish in a territory that they perhaps believe is Guatemala based on the information that they get from their media, from their government, from their schools. And it kind of leads me to question us as, you know, regular civilians, how we talk about them and how they would talk about us and how we could try to settle these types of disputes amicably. We see these types of incidents happen when we go and we put the Belizean flag. You know, every independence, we have our civilians that have that right, and there's always a particular issue that takes place when that happens, right? So
let's for a second circle back to the actual illicit activity that was taking place. To say that when you look at, you know, all the marine resources that we would be losing when you have illegal fishing taking place, right? And all the efforts that our local authorities would be conducting and doing to ensure that we Belizeans don't over-exploit. But then you have others who come into our waters. And this is not solely limited to Guatemala in certain areas. You also have Honduran fishermen who come into Belizean waters to do the same thing. And you could think of the strain that puts on our fisheries. You could think of 1,000,001 other things that happen out at sea that we may not necessarily be aware of, that our Coast Guard and our tide rangers and all the other persons who or organizations that are tasked with protecting and safeguarding our sea spaces are exposed to.
And I mean, we already have vast amounts of research that are saying we are overfishing our resources. So we are going to continue to follow this story because, like Isani and I mentioned, we've only gotten, you know, partial information, and so we are going to keep you all abreast of this particular story and what takes place thereafter. But another incident that has been taking place here in Belize, and we've talked about this before. Last year, we talked about there was a particular time period where there were no issuing of physical license and license plates, license stickers, and so forth that one would need when they, you know, register their vehicle or when they try to renew that particular license and so forth. There are no stickers and there are no license. Again, Isani. And I had this incident when I was coming this morning. You know, you have a checkpoint, they check your license, they check your insurance, and I had to be there with my paper saying I have a receipt, I just don't have a sticker. You know?
Here's a real situation. Yesterday morning, we had this conversation in our newsroom in terms of being able to perhaps look at the situation as it is and see if we could get some clarity. Clarity simply because not only have we made those observations internally, but other people out there are also, you know, raising concerns and what have you. And so what struck me as interesting about this before we even deployed is the fact that we have members of staff who have gotten stickers. I have a colleague of mine from the newsroom who got his sticker, not his sticker, I'm sorry, his receipt from September of last year. And so every time he encounters traffic personnel or he comes up to a checkpoint, he has to unfold this piece of paper that he has folded over 8 times. So eventually the receipt will get torn and what have you. All of that I'm simply saying because from September to now.
You would think, right?
And that's not on him. That's on the system and the people who are charged with making sure that the system is efficient, right? So you have issues with getting your license. You have issues with getting your stickers. And I'm thinking, as anyone who owns a vehicle, a motor vehicle at that, when you go through this process, it should be you being able to start at a certain point and conclude at a certain point and get all the services and everything that's relevant to you making that vehicle legitimate on the road happen. And that doesn't seem to be the case at this point.
It's not, and it's very inconvenient, really. And I say this because it's happened to me already. For example, this morning it was raining. Right, driving on the road, it was raining, and I have to lower my window to show my receipt in this particular weather. When in reality, there's a reason why we have the stickers, so that you don't have to go through all of that.
So we reached out to the chief transport officer yesterday. We were unable to get word from him as he's out of office. But again, something like this should be high on the priority list for the transport department. It doesn't matter which jurisdiction you are in terms of towns or cities or villages or what have you. All I'm saying is this should be a system that those who are in charge of running it should have certain lists in terms of their priorities and things that they must be on top of. And I believe that this should be one of them.
Especially with all of the RTAs that we have been having over the past months and so forth. It's a way to keep track, right? It's a way to be able to we have these things in place, and so that certain systems run smoothly. And for some reason it's not been happening. Again, it's not the first time it's happened. We had seen this I believe last year around June, July, where these issues were also taking place. So I'm not sure what the issue is. Hopefully we can get
I was asking a question, and this was a question that I also posed to my colleagues in the newsroom. Is it because we have too many vehicles on the road at this point, where maybe it's a thought? I mean, perhaps many years ago this wasn't an issue because we didn't have this many vehicles on the road or what have you. Now, almost everyone owns a vehicle.
That's why we kind of switched from, the imprinted license plates to the stickers, because first, apparently that made it a little bit easier to issue out, right? Because you have at one point, I believe the prisoners were the ones that used to do the license plates and have them printed and stamped, and now, because of too many vehicles, we switched to the stickers, which were supposed to be more efficient. And now we're seeing that we can't even get those out. So not sure what's taking place. Hopefully we can get a quote from the transport department today. I know that motorists and persons that traverse the road on a regular basis to commute require these particular documents. So we're going to keep an eye out for that. And in the international front, there's quite a lot of stir from certain persons in power, if you will, that have taken office in the north of the region. So Donald Trump was sworn in, inaugurated, this Monday, I believe. That was the inauguration date, right? The 7th of January.
No. It's later this month.
It's later this month.
Yes, he hasn't been sworn in as yet, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Yeah. On Monday, what happened was Vice President Kamala Harris essentially acceded to his victory at the polls. But yes, go ahead.
Yes, and so he made his first official speech yesterday, right? So he finally, came out, gave his speech to the world as, interim president of the United States. Where he starts, I'm not sure if I was the only person that was trying her best to pay keen attention to the flow of the speech. But there were certain talks about renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of the Americas. There was talks about, purchasing Greenland. There was talks about, having Canada be the 51 state of the United States of America. So there were a lot of different topics that were being spewed.
outgoing,
in this speech.
soon to be outgoing Canadian head of government came out to say, look, no snowball chance in hell.
Not even one snowball will be.
But that's on an aside.
Yes.
The man is returning to office.
The man is returning to office.
Prior to him doing so, there has been all of this back and forth where he's saying certain things and the world is not only watching, but the world is sort of, well, certain parts of the world on edge. He mentioned the Panama Canal fairly recently as well.
He did.
That was a controversial topic or a controversial issue. Yeah. Now he's mentioning the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico. I don't know. You know, it's going to be an interesting 4 years going forward.
It is going to be an interesting 4 years going forward. But what I was trying to, I guess, listen into was when he was campaigning and so forth, you know, he was talking a lot about inflation, cost of living, all of these different things that, of course, I'm sure were one of the reasons why he got elected as president.
Because they're pertinent and relevant to people living in the United States. Yeah.
But that's not something that we really heard in his speech yesterday. It was definitely more on like the foreign affairs front. And I'm not necessarily sure how leaders of these other nations are taking some of the things that he's saying. I know Greenland also had issued a statement. Denmark also issued a statement as well. And you know, we sit here and we could talk about Donald Trump. I could talk about this for a while, but as much as I would want to laugh and say this sounds kind of crazy and absurd. A little bit absurd. After the past 4 years of him and what the world had to endure because of his presidency, I don't put certain things past him. Now, purchasing Greenland and making Canada, you know, a state, that's very like conquest-like. It's very colonialist-like. Something that we already, you know, we have a free world. People don't think that way anymore. But hey, you've seen dictators before, and as you know, funny as it probably sounded for that time, they did what they did. So I'm taking it with a grain of salt. He has the richest man in the world beside him, and so I take it with a grain of salt.
I'll use that as an opportunity then to segue into our other conversation. And I like the fact that you've mentioned him being surrounded, in a sense, by all of these powerful individuals. There's also pandering that's happening too, though.
Yeah.
Where it has been described elsewhere that you have all of these very influential and powerful people, tech tycoons and what have you, that are essentially currying favor.
Yeah.
Because of contracts that will be signed going forward. Because of the positioning of certain companies and what have you. And so, Mark Zuckerberg, we're going back to the social media thing, right?
To the social media front.
So, Facebook's or X's, Meta's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, has been one of those people who has, in a sense, courted the controversy of ponying up. For want of a better word, right?
Yeah.
To the incoming Trump administration. And it will be interesting to see how that plays out. As you've mentioned, you have Elon Musk. And I want to go back briefly to what's buzzing conversation we had on Monday with the Washington Post cartoonist resigning because of the same thing, right? Where we're saying, okay, so there's Elon Musk, there's Jeff Bezos, there's Mark Zuckerberg, there's Sam Altman from OpenAI. All of these individuals are essentially lining up themselves along with the Trump administration.
I can't say that I'm too surprised though, Isani, because remember during his first presidency, you know, persons like Mark Zuckerberg were under hot water, right? Because they had essentially banned Donald Trump from all of these social media platforms. And of course, they had a very, the time. They had allegedly a very tight-knit fact-checking system and so forth, and a lot of the things he was spewing was indeed false. So, you know, him being the head of Meta and head of almost all of these social media spaces, now he's coming back and saying, well, you know, we're doing away with this tight fact-checking way of doing things on these social media fronts, you know, right when this man is about to become president. So I guess for him, it's, I'm trying to safeguard my company and myself so that I don't go through the same issues that I went through the past.
But if you look at, and I'll end with this.
Yeah.
If you look at the liberalization of X under Elon Musk's ownership or headship, free speech is a thing where everybody could get on X now and say what they feel want. And what have you, right? And they're pushing the idea of freedom of speech, right? So it wouldn't be far-fetched to see where where Meta is coming from with that as well, right? And so for me, I look at it as it's a serious about face.
It's going to be very interesting to see how that affects spaces like ours, right? And how it affects spaces internationally and so forth with hard news and so forth, because at the end of the day, and I don't know. I think here we try our best to ensure that we get all the facts and so forth, but it's going to be a very interesting thing to see what people decide they can put online and how other persons, like we mentioned, interpret and analyze that information. It's a very scary space when you think about it. You say no one man should have that much power. There is truth to that statement, and I'm going to leave it at that. But that does it for our What's Buzzing topics. If you have any comments and so forth, let us know. And if you have any topics that you'd like to see us discuss here on the couch, let us know in the comment section below. That does it for our What's Buzzing for today. But we got to move on into our eye opener and bring you some motivation on this blessed Wednesday morning. And our eye opener is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. When we schedule too much in our lives, trying to meet our obligations, we only end up draining our energy. We all encounter obligations in life, from spending time with family and friends to being present at important functions in the lives of the people who form our community. Many times the obligations are actually fun and fulfilling, and we want to be there. At the same time, we all sometimes experience resistance to meeting these obligations, especially when they pile up all at once and we begin to feel exhausted, longing for nothing so much as a quiet evening at home. At times like these, we may want to say no, but feel too guilty at the idea of not being there. Still, our primary obligation is to take care of ourselves. And if saying no to someone else is what we have to do, then we do not need to feel bad about it. Meeting our obligations to others is an important part of being human and not one to take lightly. At the same time, we cannot meet every obligation without neglecting our primary duty to take care of ourselves. We can navigate this quandary by being conscious of what we choose to do and not to do, by finding concrete ways to extend our caring when we are not able to be there in person. I see you smiling.
No, I'll be brief. Simply to say, look, you have to learn how to say no at times. And if you can't be there physically, or if you have no interest of being there physically, you make that decision and you move on.
Yeah, I think though the part where it says you feel a little guilty and so on, like I've experienced that before, but I agree with you. For your own mental health, for your own well-being, sometimes it is okay to say no. And of course, you can show love in other ways, right? But we got to move on into our weather update from the folks at the National Meteorological Service.
Good morning, Belize. A weak cold front is affecting the country. The 24-hour forecast for Belize and her coastal waters calls for cloudy skies today with sunny breaks, and high temperatures are expected to reach 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, to 81 inland and 70 over the mountains. Tonight, the skies will be partly cloudy with low temperatures of 72 along coastal areas, 67 over inland, and 60 in the higher elevations. A few showers or periods of rain will develop along central and southern coasts during the daytime. Thereafter, the activity will become isolated. The winds will blow from the north to northeast at 10 to 20 knots, and the sea state will be moderate. A high tide is in progress, and this will follow by a low at 10:28 a.m. Another high will occur at 4:45 this evening, and a low at 33 minutes past midnight. The sun will rise at 6:25 a.m. and set at 5:33. The moon comes up at 12:49 this afternoon and set at 9 minutes past 2 tomorrow morning. The outlook for Thursday and Thursday night is for mainly fair conditions to prevail, and showers will be isolated. In the sargassum forecast, latest satellite imagery suggests that there is a slight increase in sargassum in the area. However, chances of sargassum affecting beaches and any potential impacts remains low. And that's your morning forecast that was prepared here at the National Meteorological Service.
All right, want to say a big thank you to the National Meteorological Service for that weather update. We have a show lineup that is going to be a good one here for you. We have our first conversation with the folks from the Belize National Forensic Science Service. They're going to be in to share some current developments in that field.
Our second conversation this morning will learn all about the importance of time management in the age of overwhelming technological devices. Wow.
And, kind of talking about technological advancements in our third and final conversation, we will be discussing digital marketing strategies and how companies can navigate using artificial intelligence. So you don't want to miss that conversation. But we do got to take a quick break. And when we come back, it's all about uncovering Belizean forensic science developments. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I'm the coordinator of the Benga House of Culture niche. Before the Belize Bank online service, I had to travel to San Ignacio because we don't have a Belize Bank branch in our community. Now with the service, I can conduct my transactions at the office, at the comfort of my home, just anywhere in the world. It has made my life much easier. I would recommend the Belize Bank digital services to everyone and anyone. It gives you back your time, it's highly reliable, it's available 24/7, and it just makes your life easier.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Full-Tech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Full-Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
I'm connected. Yo.
I'm connected.
We're connected.
Create the perfect broadband bundle that fits your style with Smart Connect. With the Junior Bundle, get 50% off your national calls and up to 6 gigabytes of data at no extra cost. Get postpaid added on for an additional cost of only $25 with the Prime bundle. Stay connected with unlimited smart-to-smart calls plus 6,300 megabytes of data and free international minutes. For the family, get the Binge Watchers bundle with Netflix add-on for only $28.13 more. This bundle gives you 4 profiles with unlimited streaming on multiple devices. Visit a showroom near you to sign up and personalize your own bundle combination with Smart Connect. Smart, bringing people together.
Take control with My Social Security, your secure online account to manage all your Social Security information. To create a My Social Security account, you must be 14 years or older and have a valid email address. Visit the My Social Security self-service portal at ssbportal.org.bz. Click on Create Account. Enter your date of birth and phone number. Next, verify your email address to continue. To verify, simply enter your email address and click the Send Verification button. Enter the verification code sent to your email inbox to proceed. Next, create a password that meets the requirements. Enter the name and select the reason for your account. Then click Create. Your My Social Security account was successfully created. Your information security is our priority. If you have a Social Security number, click Link My SSN to link your Social Security number to your account and activate using the steps in your confirmation email. If you do not have a Social Security number, click Register with SSB. You are now ready to truly experience Social Security at your fingertips.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys, it's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
It's clearly documented that we have been having, as a planet, an increasing incidence of cancers. But remember, cancer is a genetic disease.
When you now look at somebody's DNA or their genetics, it can tell you everything about a person. So what we use next generation sequencing to do in particular is to look at hereditary cases of diseases.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Communicate, collaborate, and improve your efficiency with Dell. At Cellular World, we carry a full line of Dell's innovative equipment, including high-performance desktop computers backed up by a 3-year warranty, Latitude notebooks, monitors, docking stations, keyboards, laptop bags, and other accessories. If you're shopping for your home or office, we have the Dell products for you. Dell has the machines to help you get in the game. Browse online and never miss a beat with your business. Visit us at any of our Cellular World branches in Belize City, Belmopan, and San Pedro, or shop with us online. Cellular World, low prices, more choices.
And welcome back. For our first conversation this morning, we have been joined from representatives of the Belize National Forensic Science Services. We have with us in studio this morning the Executive Director, Giancho. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning, guys.
And he's joined by the Assistant Director, Ashanti Guzman.
Morning.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
We're talking about the work of the NFSS and perhaps some of the achievements that you would have made in the previous year. I know that the forensics area has been one of those areas where there's a lot of work taking place trying to help with solving crime, trying to help with, being able to determine some other concerns and stuff that citizens would have where DNA and all of these other forensic elements are concerned. Once again, good morning, and let's begin that conversation.
All right, well, good morning again. Beautiful and rainy good morning to all of Belize and to our staff members, because to answer your first question, the achievements that we made last year were a team effort by all 58 staff members at National Forensic Science Service who are stationed countrywide. And we have three specialized units in the NFSS. Scenes of crime, Ms. Ashanti is immediately responsible for scenes of crime, and scenes of crime has about 30 crime scene technicians stationed countrywide. We have the forensic lab, which has about 15 technical staff members plus administrative staff, so total about 22 staff members. And then the medical examiner's office, which has about 6 staff members, and they are the ones that do the forensic post-mortem examinations. So collectively in 2024, we have made some good gains in terms of the quality system improvements that as a forensic service provider we are achieving or implementing so that we can deliver reliable, objective, and hopefully timely, sufficiently timely forensic services to law enforcement clients and the justice system. So our immediate clients that we serve are the police department, Coast Guard, the BDF, customs. They come in and access services, and the prosecution as well, who rely on the expert witness testimony. The beneficiaries, of course, are two of you, your family members, the entire Belizean public, transient people who pass through Belize, tourists, people conducting business who may, regrettably, but sometimes become victims of crime. So those are beneficiaries of our service. So the service to our clients, one of the main things that we strive to achieve is that the clients get the service that they need. The products that we provide, which are the crime scene inspection services, the forensic autopsies, the laboratory analysis of evidence, we ensure it's fit for purpose, that our methods are valid, that we can properly communicate our findings to clients. So last year we implemented a quality management system that is designed for forensic service providers based on the ISO standards. The ISO 17025 and 17020 for testing and inspection. We made several improvements in terms of equipment, in terms of facilities. We invested significantly taxpayers' dollars in purchasing equipment. Training as well. I'll let Ms. Shanti speak a little bit more about how we have achieved international certification for crime scene technicians. We're the first country in Central America to do so, but I'll let Shanti expound on that. And then, well, staffing wise, we have 58 staff members. Like I said, it sounds like a lot, but if you compare, for instance, to our sister department, which is separate from us, police department, they have 2,500 law enforcement officers. Our staff serve them. So you have 2,500 staff members. For police, 58 staff members. So we do need to grow. We do need to increase. By no means we need 2,500 forensic service providers, right? But we do need to make sure that our services are timely, right, which is a limitation right now because of shortage of staff, that our staff can take the necessary time to train, to rest as well after dealing with some very gruesome and horrible scenes, crime scenes. So we do need to, this year we're working on trying to expand, and this is, we're getting at 2025 now, trying to expand our staff size, expand scope as well, which I'll get into a little bit later, but also make sure our staff are properly compensated. We have raised the minimum qualifications to become a forensic practitioner in Belize. The Ministry of Public Service this year has said they'll get to upgrading the salary descriptions, because salary scales, across public service, there are very specialized roles like forensic practitioners that need certain qualifications, certain training. It's hard to attract qualified people. It's hard to retain them, because we've been losing people over time to higher paying jobs. So this year we're actively working with the Job Classification Unit of Ministry of Public Service to try to raise those salary scales commensurate to the qualifications that we have. But I'll pass it over to Ashanti to talk a little bit more.
Ashanti, I just had another question for you. What is the efficacy of the National Forensic Science Services when it comes to assisting with crime solving? You have cases of homicide that come before you. You have road traffic accidents and any other form of crimes that require your services. How do you measure, or how do you look at where you've come from to where you are in terms of being able to solve some of these crimes or these cases?
That's a perfect segue to Ashanti, because forensic starts at the crime scene. If you don't have quality forensic work at the crime scene, it affects everything else after that. So I'll have Ashanti begin to answer that question.
So first of all, I want to say good morning to our viewers and our staff. I know that the unit is looking. As Mr. Cho said, I'm in charge of 30 crime scene technicians. They're countrywide. And their primary goal is to process crime scenes and attend autopsies. One of the focus, because we wanted to give a quality management system, we focus on training to make sure the staff is competent to carry out those duties. So Isani, how do we measure this? Through training. We have to make sure that they pass their tests, so we initiate a training program. We ensure that we give them competency and internal proficiency testing, as well as we liaise with international body to give external testing, right? We want to make sure the staff know the basics of what they're mandated to do. We've also focused on revising our standard operating procedures and policies. It's important the staff have a structure of what guidelines they must follow when they attend crime scenes, so that their outputs are credible to what the courts require and what the service that the police require. We also make sure that we have initiated a quality manual. We aided in providing a manual where we say, okay, this is the quality standards, right? And that include a lot of documented forms to ensure that they don't miss anything per crime scenes. You know, that there's a checklist right down to use of kits and equipment. We've also initiated when they follow through and make better efforts with the police department. So they start by going on the crime scene, getting the information. The public feels that we are the first responders, but we are second responders. We come after the fact. We come after the homicide, after the fire, right? So we have collaborated with the police to facilitate training for them to ensure security and proper management of crime scenes. Because what determine and lower standards for the outputs for the service to the police is contamination, cross-contamination. The general public have the tendency to like to tamper with crime scenes, even before the police comes out there. So we have initiated a management system protocol with the police as to how we manage crime scene, right? We've also assisted in autopsies. We take photograph of deceased persons and we collect any samples that the doctor deemed to need to be analyzed, right? And so what is the output and how we measure that? Is the results. Fingerprint, are we getting fingerprints? What evidence are we providing to the laboratory in order for them to provide the analysis, right? So the outputs will be our reports. Reports that the police can use, that the court can use, and ensuring that there are deemed expert witness that they can give this credible evidence before a court. Right? So we provide independent service. So sometimes the general public feel like we work for the police. Right?
That's
but
often the impression
the service is independent. So sometimes we might get fingerprint that might not match the accused. Right? So we provide direction to the police, but it's, at the end of the day, they are the investigators.
I want to talk about how this information is being stored at the forensics department, because when we think about where you're getting prints, how are you matching these prints, where are you getting your information so that there is a steady flow of accuracy that's taking place?
In terms of fingerprints, the crime scene technicians are the one who lift the latent prints from crime scenes, surfaces, etc. Those prints are then forwarded to the police department, the cyber unit, who then do the analysis of that print. Those prints are stored with the police. Our unit do not store evidence or exhibits. They're either handed over to the police or they're stored at the forensic laboratory. Right.
Well, just to go back to your first question, Isani, the efficacy we also measured by just raw data outputs. So for 2024, scenes of crime process about 3,700 scenes countrywide. So not only crime scenes, but accident scenes, also photographing of exhibits, damaged property, things like that.
Yeah.
Those photographs are stored on secure server. The reports are produced, given to the investigator, added to the case file. So 3,700 of those scenes of crime. The medical examiner's office did 667 forensic post-mortem examinations to determine cause of death and manner of death according to accepted medical procedures which are involved in the autopsy, as well as supporting ancillary testing, toxicology or histopathology if the medical examiner needs those supportive testing to determine scientifically what the cause of death is, what the manner of death is. And those reports go to the investigator adds it to the case file. If there's criminal suspicion or a criminally suspicious death, further investigation might occur. If there's a charge from manslaughter leading all the way up to homicide, that they rely on the autopsy report. And then the forensic lab did about 1,200 reports. They released reports to investigators, 1,200 reports just in 2024, covering firearms, serology, toxicology, or seized drugs that ended up either in a case file, went to court, or accused pled guilty, or it was still under active investigation. And we received about 2,500 new exhibits during 2024, right? So in terms of raw data and efficacy, in terms of the end product, we started last year with our quality management system to do things like courtroom testimony and evaluation, because our experts are expert witnesses for the court. So they're reviewed by their peers who are also competent in delivering that testimony to give them objective feedback so that they know areas to improve or what they're doing well. We also started to use or request our clients to submit customer satisfaction surveys to give us some empirical data, some feedback, as well as complaints. If they have a complaint, we ask them to document it so that we can take action. We started to do things like corrective actions, incident reports, corrective actions reports, if there's any breach of our quality management system so that we can fix it. Another way we can also look at efficacy is to read judgments. That's something I do whenever I have the free time. The judiciary website, Belize Judiciary, they post their criminal judgments by the courts, the judges in the criminal court, and some of them are 20, 30, 40 pages long. As journalists, you could go through them and see how the judge assigned weight to forensic evidence. Right? Sometimes it's heavily reliant, the judgment is heavily reliant on eyewitness, but there are several judgments, and we got some last year that heavily relied on forensic evidence.
When the forensic evidence and the way that we're going now, once upon a time we had to ship out blood work and other forms of DNA.
That's still upon a time right now.
Right, still doing that and so forth.
DNA
testing and so forth. Right, so how are we when it comes to ensuring that we get this information quickly?
Yes. And so again, that's always our goal, to reduce the turnaround time. We're a small country. GDP compared to others is not as large as some countries that can invest in a lot of in-country services. So there will probably never be a time where we become a one-stop shop in-country for forensic services. We'll always need to outsource something. If there's a new type of analysis, we'll outsource. So currently, at this point, we outsource DNA regularly to 2 laboratories in the USA. We outsource advanced toxicology to a laboratory in the USA, and we only use accredited laboratories. Advanced toxicology meaning anything other than blood alcohol. We do blood alcohol in country. If the medical examiner or if the police investigator wants to determine if a victim, whether deceased or alive, was drugged or was poisoned or had something in their, some kind of substance in their system that may have led to their death, or that may have incapacitated them and led to being assaulted, we have to outsource those cases. And it's usually blood. If it's a deceased case, we take tissue samples depending on what type of toxicology we want to send out. And the reports come back, and those go into the case file. Those experts that produce those reports in the USA, the DNA analysts or toxicology analysts, sometimes are called to testify virtually by the court. We also have a laboratory relationship for arson or fire debris analysis. It's a little bit more difficult to ship those kinds of samples because shipping the sample is another a logistic obstacle. We use couriers, secure couriers, but if the substance raises a flag by U.S. Customs, they might want to open the package. So we have to make sure it hasn't happened yet because we have our safeguards and our procedures and our labeling and good relationship with the courier. But we make sure that the evidence is properly sealed to preserve the integrity, but also to make, and the forms are properly labeled to secure chain of custody, but also to let the U.S. Customs officials know there's evidence for a criminal case so they won't open it. But things like fire debris analysis, like accelerants analysis, if you try to put it in a sealed metal canister, right away red flag for customs what's inside that canister. So we have to purchase special nylon bags, nylon evidence bags that keep any volatile substances in, etc. We also from time to time outsource, request the FBI to do some of their analysis that they provide for us, and we outsource items for analysis there.
Wow. Let me jump in quickly to ask, there are times when you have high profile cases where the families of victims would say, well, we'll get the FBI to come in and lend their services to solving a crime. What then is the working relationship between the NFSS and any other external investigating unit?
All right. Well, for the FBI, we have an excellent working relationship, a direct working relationship where we communicate directly with the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia, through the El Salvador office. That's the regional office. We also have excellent working relationships with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, ATF. We've actually done some request searches in the U.S. ballistic database to see if there are firearms, because we have a ballistic database in Belize, to see if we have any hits. Interpol, we have direct MOU, NFSS and Interpol, to eventually, we haven't been able to utilize it yet, to access their databases for lost or stolen firearms, or for missing persons, their DNA databases as well. Regionally, Central America, we have good working relationships with some of the other forensic labs, as well as the Caribbean as well. So in terms of direct relationships, yes, we have those. To request, or your question was if the family would want to request some of these agencies to come in, well, that would be through the investigating agency, which is the police department usually. But for us for the NFSS to determine whether to rely on one of these other agencies, we have our internal, again, quality system requirements, because we try to shield ourselves from any sort of bias or perception that we might not be acting impartial, right? Because we rely on scientific objectivity. That's one of our core principles, or part of our code of ethics. So families don't necessarily, I don't want to say it sounding insensitive, but families don't necessarily inform or impact which lab we use to test. We follow standard accepted practices for forensic service providers to outsource to other laboratories. We only use accredited labs, like I said, and if the family does want to do their own private testing, there's a mechanism where they can request through the police for any additional or extra sample that we may have, to hand it over to the family to do their own independent testing.
How do you all inspect a crime scene that perhaps might not have a body or a murder weapon, possible murder weapon?
The inspection of the scene does not, if there is not obvious a body or a weapon, that doesn't mean there's other trace evidence. There could be biological evidence, there could be an item that maybe pertain to maybe an action that may have taken. So maybe if there's an argument in another location can be visited. So not because a body or a weapon is not there, the scene won't be processed, right? We will still do an inspection of that scene to ensure that we collect everything pertaining to the information that is received from the investigating officer, right?
Over, I don't know, perhaps a decade ago or something, there was the introduction of a system called IBIS, right? To be able to look at firearms from a ballistic perspective, right? Has there been perhaps some kind of a measure of rate of success to determine like bullets that were fired from a particular weapon and then tying those weapons or those bullets back to someone in terms of being able to solve a crime?
Definitely. Almost every month we produce these firearms reports. So huge success in that area. A lot more recent since 2017, 2018 when we started to do confirm comparison analysis between fired components and firearms. Within the past couple of years, we have been actively trying to work with law enforcement to be able to utilize what we call crime gun intelligence to make more timely investigative leads on particular cases where we, through the use of the IBIS database and just ballistic identification, produce reports, or we call them notifications, within a short span of time to say that these shooting incidents might be linked, might be related, or the firearm that they recovered from the suspect was linked to the cartridge case recovered from the scene, or occasionally the bullet from the deceased. So yes, we've been utilizing that. Of course, we don't publicize that much because the person that really needs to know that is the investigator to make the arrest. And again, some of those same judgments that I mentioned, a lot of convictions for firearm cases rely heavily on the products from firearms comparison, which the IBIS database that we have in country is utilized as a ability to search any new shooting incidents. We go back and enter the components in there, and it's an automated search to say what other incidents from the past was linked to that particular evidence that we entered.
There has been a couple of research projects that have come out through the forensics department. You've had foreign researchers, academics and so forth come try to, utilize Belizeans to gather information, DNA information and so forth, based on ethnicity and so on. How are you all utilizing that information that has been researched?
Okay. Well, the foreign researchers weren't doing it for them, they were doing it for us. That project is still ongoing. We hit some obstacles with getting access to genetic information or swabs from certain ethnic groups, because we want it to be a representative study of the Belizean population. So we're trying to get into some of the more conservative communities to try to get swabs so that we have a complete picture. So that's still on our active to-do list to complete that study. And it's not for the foreign researchers, it's for Belize to have its national database of allele frequencies for when we start to do DNA testing in country, which we're starting to do that this year through the launch of a rapid DNA section at the forensic lab.
Let's talk about that.
All right, so last year we got approval for a Capital 2 budget to purchase rapid DNA equipment. Rapid DNA is different from the traditional full forensic DNA workflow. The rapid DNA equipment can fit right on that half of that glass table right there, the size of a big printer. We are installing it now at the forensic lab. By the ending of January, it should be installed, completed with training. We have to develop our methods, talk to law enforcement and the prosecution to make them know what cases will be eligible for rapid DNA, because then it will change, it will adjust our methods at the crime scene, because the rapid DNA is not a replacement for full DNA. So we'll have to adjust how swabs are taken, what additional safeguards. Now we make sure that law enforcement use gloves and masks, because we don't want to be contaminating the samples and wasting money, and realizing that it's the same case officer's DNA that was on the swab. So we have to have our own internal database, and that's where a parallel project is underway right now. In January, we have consultations with stakeholders to eventually draft a DNA bill.
I was just
part of which will govern how we establish genetic databases in country, how we search those databases, how we share information with foreign agencies or governments that would like to access our genetic information from both criminal databases, similar to like the IBIS database for firearms. We'll have a criminal database of suspect profiles or crime scene samples that we don't know who it belongs to, but it's in the criminal database, as well as humanitarian databases for missing persons or for like those anthropologists that came a couple years ago. A humanitarian database is meant to identify missing persons, not to lead to criminal convictions. So we want to make sure that we have clear regulations in place that separates any humanitarian databases of genetic profiles from, and that's particularly relevant for Central America, where we have migrant populations, as well as the criminal database.
So these are, so these are for the consultation process, right? You would be looking at people who have expertise in drafting legislation and what have you to be able to...
Yes, so the legal consultation project for drafting a DNA bill is part of the overall PS Justice project that was launched last year with the judiciary, funded by the European Union through the United Nations Development Program. It's a Caribbean-wide project to improve access to justice and criminal justice reform across the Caribbean. And Belize, through the leadership of our Chief Justice, has been at the forefront of implementing some of the activities under that project. You've seen a lot of the releases from the Judiciary and the Criminal Justice Board about sentencing guidelines, about plea bargaining, etc. So as part of that large project, drafting of DNA legislation was an activity. So we tendered out through UNDP for a legal consultant. That contract was awarded last year. We had our kickoff meeting in December. 2 weeks from now, the consultant will be in Belize on the ground, meeting with stakeholders, doing the initial needs assessment and review before the next step over the next couple of months to propose a draft bill and then get feedback from the stakeholders before a final draft bill is produced and sent to the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Minister of Home Affairs for its consideration to eventually take to the House. But DNA legislation relies or will require discussions, some very serious discussions about individuals' right to privacy.
I was just about to ask about ethical protection.
Correct. The ethical safeguards in terms of genetic profiles, which I mentioned already. Even things like how samples are collected, the procedure for collecting samples, whether samples are collected by consent or by court order, whether it becomes mandatory and the state has the permission to use reasonable force to get a sample for certain charges, murder, sexual assault, etc., which other countries have. We want to make sure we discuss all of that so that our legislation that we draft for Belize, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Other countries, Trinidad, some of the other Central American countries, USA, England has a very robust DNA legislation that requires mandatory collection once you're arrested. So we want to make sure we discuss all of that within the stakeholder consultation period.
I wonder, because I'm thinking about all of the different ways that we gather DNA, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be blood. It can be other fluids, dental records, and saliva and so forth. As you guys are continuing to build your database and so on, how important is it for us as civilians to understand how a crime scene looks like and what we're supposed to do in order to not contaminate it?
Well, when the crime have committed, the citizen should usually reach out to the police, right? Make the official report. The service must be requested from the police.
Okay, so we can't call crime scenes?
No.
Okay.
The report must be made to the police, and the police will then request our service. The police should inform the complainant, try not to tamper with evidence, tamper with the scene until we arrive at the scene, right? And make sure that the scene is secure. We have the tendency to like to tamper with the scene. We have individuals who don't belong in the scene.
Touch everything.
Right, so, and that is why I go back to say that we have the protocol with the management of the scene. Certain things, procedures, who is in charge, release of the scene, security of the scene, take documentation of who are in and out of the scene. Right, so security of the scene is important, and so this, the general public must try their best not to tamper with any physical evidence that we believe that we can process and get some sort of forensic evidence from, right?
Wonderful. Right. As we are about to wrap up our conversation, expectations for 2025?
Well, so like I said, the rapid DNA, and I don't think I explained fully the difference between rapid and full DNA. It doesn't replace it. We still need to outsource to the USA to get the full DNA report to be used in court. So rapid DNA is just for a timely investigative lead or for identification of missing persons. So in 2025, once we launch that service, we hope that law enforcement can make investigations and arrests now relying to some extent on DNA profile from a suspect or from the crime scene. There are certain guidance documents from the FBI, who's one of the authority on use of rapid DNA, that we want to make sure we put in place with law enforcement. John Doe's, Jane Doe's missing persons, once we roll out the service by mid-2025, we won't be anticipating having to send DNA cases to the USA to identify a deceased. We can do that in country. So we go from 3 to 4 months for those families waiting to confirm if there's loved ones, to maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks at most, right? Rapid DNA can give you a profile in as little as 90 minutes. But if you have caseload, staffing, etc., of course, you won't get a report in 90 minutes. It'll probably be a couple of days to a few weeks. The restructuring and regrading of salary scales, like I said, is one of the top priorities on our list. It's been there for about a decade now, because our staff really have been doing a lot and continue to push the envelope and increase the quality that we provide to the justice system, and the salaries have remained stagnant. So we want to make sure we can retain staff and we don't have high attrition rates and high turnover. The quality system, this year we want to take it a step further and apply for international accreditation for the Belizean Scenes of Crime Office, for the firearms section at the forensic lab, and for the analytical chemistry at the forensic lab, to achieve ISO certification. Most of the other forensic labs in Central America have achieved ISO certification through U.S. support. It's a project that is heavily funded and supported by the United States government through the Bureau of INL from the U.S. Embassy. In the Caribbean, only St. Lucia and the Cayman Islands, to my knowledge, have achieved ISO certification. Right? But across the world, this is where forensic labs are going. We want to have an external stamp of quality assurance from these accrediting bodies to say that we are maintaining these standards as part of ISO 17025 and 17020. In country, we're supported by the Belize Bureau of Standards as the national quality agency. Their metrology lab is also trying to get the same accreditation to that standard. Baja has that accreditation already. So there are a few government agencies and statutory bodies in Belize that are also moving towards this international accreditation of our services, so that if the clients complain or have any questions or doubts, we can say, well, this external accrediting body has assured that we are maintaining these requirements. It involves internal audits.
Somebody's checking you out.
Correct. We check ourselves. We did 2 internal audits last year, but somebody else is coming in. And then, well, Ashanti can talk a little bit more about the certification of our staff. We achieved some certification last year. We're trying to get more this year.
Yeah, we have seek international certification with the largest U.S. inspection body, IAI. 12 of our staff have achieved that last year. We're very proud of them because we're the first for Central America in this region. And so for 2025, we want the remaining staff achieve this. So they will take their test later this year with the assistance from INL supporting this project, so that we have everybody internationally certified. Certification is important. It gives confidence before a court, and the reports that they produce that they are skilled and trained to carry out the work.
Then in terms of office space equipment, because our staff is one thing, but if we don't have equipment or the office space, the evidence is compromised. In 2020, Scenes of Crime started to rent office space in Belize City, which has really uplifted the quality of service. We want to also have improved office spaces in Belmopan and Dangriga. In Dangriga, we're constructing through U.S. government support Scenes of Crime office. This long-awaited new forensic lab, forensic morgue, I just checked in with the Kabe officer in Belmopan. This week, we're supposed to relaunch. Unfortunately, for a third time, we're relaunching the tender to design the forensic lab and forensic morgue. You know how those Kabe processes work. If the evaluation fails, they have to relaunch, and it takes some time. So hopefully we relaunch that January, February, and we can start designing that on our 12 acres that we got from UB last year.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, when you said there's a lot happening, there's a lot happening indeed. So hopefully you can return and give us an update in the middle of the year. But thank you both so much for coming in, and congratulations on all the hard work that you all have been doing. We do got to take a quick break though, and when we come back, it's all about time management in the midst of technology. You don't want to miss that conversation. We'll be right back.
today, we're here shopping at B-Mart. Today we're making the green super smoothie. Let's master it.
My name is Hermine Vega. El Patio Grill has been using Belize Bank for over 25 years. We only use Belize Bank at our restaurant. That's why we were able to win this trip to Europe. I had never been to Europe. We found out it was Madrid and we were excited and we went to this football match. The teams reached before the game and everybody was just outside, you know. You can't explain it. The noise just roared like 3 blocks down the street. But when you got in there and you saw 70,000 people in there, that was amazing. I couldn't believe it was happening. I had to pinch myself to make sure it was real, you know, because it's a one-in-a-lifetime experience, I'd say. My lucky plus one was my son. He's 18 years old, so he was really excited and he enjoyed it as well. He said it's his best trip ever, so it's a priceless experience that we got. Belize Bank has always been there for me. Whatever transactions or whatever I need to do, they're always there for me. I would recommend everybody to use Belize Bank. This is the oldest bank in our country and they continue to do their best.
Power on with confidence. Design Depot brings you an attractive selection of GE appliances, including microwaves, washers, dryers, refrigerators, dishwashers, countertop appliances, and more. We understand the importance of appliances that not only endure, but also excel in performance. As your trusted GE USA authorized dealer, we stand for reliability and performance, ensuring that you can power on with confidence. Visit us today and power on with efficient, reliable, and energy-saving solutions with GE appliances from Design Depot.
Design Depot, all in one place.
My name is Nayeli Yakab. I'm the coordinator of the Benga House of Culture niche. Before the Belize Bank online service, I had to travel to San Ignacio because we don't have a Belize Bank branch in our community. Now with the service, I can conduct my transactions at the office, at the comfort of my home, just anywhere in the world. It has made my life much easier. I would recommend the Belize Bank digital services to everyone and anyone. It gives you back your time. It's highly reliable. It's available 24/7, and it just makes your life easier.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. Joining us for our second conversation virtually, we have Miss Minerva Pinello, and she's the managing director of Right Insights. And we are going to be having a conversation about time management in the midst of technology. Good morning, Miss Minerva.
Good morning. Are you with us?
Perhaps you're having some technical difficulties. Well, it seems that we're having some technical difficulties reaching Miss Minerva, but she was with us earlier, and I was talking to Isane about managing my time in the midst of technology. I am still very old school, pen and paper, and I guess like writing it down allows me to remember what I'm going to do. I'm not sure if that's the reason why. Maybe somebody can answer that question for me. But I seldomly use my phone or online planner to manage my time.
I think time management in a general sense is something that a lot of us grapple with, simply because we're not as organized as we should be.
As we
many
want
of
to
us,
be.
right?
Yes.
And I'll raise my hand and say I'm the first person that will admit that I have issues with managing my time efficiently.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I end up doing a lot of things like to the wire.
Yeah.
Right? But in terms of being able to understand where technology falls into all of this, as you mentioned earlier, there are so many different applications and what have you that you could utilize. You have the Google Calendar. You have all of these other platforms that you can use to in order to make sure that you're on time with your deliverables and what have you. And you could always get an assistant.
Yeah, well,
that does all of
some of us can get
works,
that,
right?
but I am with you. I'm definitely one of those persons. I guess because there's so many things that we have to do during the day. There's so many things that happen that are out of your control that kind of disrupts this organization, if you will, right? And I wonder if this is something that I feel like we try our best to do as people. When I start my day, I write a list of everything that I need to do. And that, like I said, those things, that is very old school, and that does help me. But I also think about the way that we rely on technology and so forth. And we do want to have this conversation with Miss Pinello, as she was our guest for this segment. But we are having some technical difficulties, and we do apologize for that. And hopefully we can bring her back. And we can continue have this conversation. So can you just bear with us as we take a quick break and try to get Miss Minerva back online. So we'll take a break now, and we'll be right back.
And I'm a teacher, and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is to see if the features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer, with these online that Belize Bank offered, is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
Driving around, particularly during this holiday season, can be quite an experience. Families are out shopping and the streets are buzzing with excitement. It reminds me that this season is all about connections, and it starts with how we treat each other, even on the road. When I'm behind the wheel, I always remind myself that being on the road is more than just following the rules. It's about looking out for each other and making sure we all get home safely to our families. This season, let's continue to be alert and be kind on the road. Be courteous, give way, and stay safe. A message from BEL.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Coming up, these chefs and mixologists produce their creative best for their biggest party yet. This steel band has been making a difference for over 40 years. An island filled with beauty, a vibrant culture, and an iconic natural attraction. Now, where can this be? It's all next on this station.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We are going to switch gears, but still staying in the conversation of technology. We're going to be discussing how to maximize your online marketing potential and how companies can navigate using artificial intelligence, which is another big conversation to have. And joining us via Zoom, we have the owner and lead strategist of Belizean marketeer, Miss Shanice Salazar. Good morning, Shanice.
Hi, good morning. How are you guys today?
We are doing well, thank you. All right, so Shanice, we've been talking, we had a discussion this morning a little bit about the use of social media and so forth and how it helps us, or maybe not so much help us in the form of this particular platform and media. But this conversation is more about utilizing AI to your advantage, particularly in the field of marketing. Let's start about this concept and how a Belizean marketeer uses these strategies.
So something to note about AI is that a lot of people are afraid of the word AI. They think it's some sort of machine that it's going to take over the world, which is not necessarily the truth, right? I always encourage my clients to utilize AI and embrace it because it has a very wide range of things that it can do specifically for marketing and to help them with their online presence. And something that we were discussing as a team that we wanted to talk about is that the Belize Tourism Board has been doing such a great job in advertising Belize, and having us on buses. We're being mentioned in movies and TV shows. And one of the things that Belizean businesses lack in is online presence, right? So we have the eyes looking at us, but what are they looking at, right? We need to improve our social media. We need to improve our online presence, our Google My Business pages, to make sure that we're seen by these eyes that are looking at us, right? So if you're not optimizing your pages, you're being left out on opportunities. And using AI, you can literally use different strategies and think of it as your personal assistant, right? So you can use these terms to search and try to find out different ways on how to enhance, and it gives you detailed instructions as well. So that's one of the pluses of using AI. And there's a lot of different types that you can use. There's ChatGPT, there's Gemini, there's Perplexity. All of these have different functions that's their main function. And we here at Belizean Marketeer, it depends on what the job is, and we utilize that for the job to get the job done.
Okay, so let's step back just a bit here to give us some background for those of us who may not necessarily be familiar with Belizean Marketeer, what that company is, and perhaps what the services are and what it sets out to accomplish.
Sure. So we specialize in providing tailored marketing solutions for businesses here in Belize and in the US. So we help businesses grow by enhancing their online presence, improving their SEO, which is search engine optimization, being able to be the #1 person on the list when being searched, and managing their social media strategies to increase engagement and reach more customers.
And I'm thinking about the different platforms that you're talking about in terms of utilizing AI to our advantage and to market ourselves as a nation, if you will, right? But doesn't it dehumanize the elements, so to speak, when you perhaps overutilize these particular online machine is a word, application, I guess that's a better word.
I think that one of the key things is that because we're afraid and we utilize it in a way that we want to hurry get the job done, it doesn't necessarily give us, that human aspect that you're talking about. That's why you need a person to utilize the AI to the best advantage for that company or for yourself, right? So while we do use AI to provide these strategies, we don't heavily depend on it, right? Because everyone here is trained from Google Digital Garage, from Coursera, stuff like that, in order for us to be able to do our jobs, right? So I would say AI should be used as a tool and not as something to be dependent on heavily. Sometimes, someone asks you a question or you need to find out something. You know the words that you're looking for, but you can't necessarily put them together. And that's where the AI comes in. So I believe that it should be used as something to help you and not necessarily, heavily depend on.
Shanice, paint for us a scenario where perhaps a small Belizean company would want to use these services in terms of being able to market a product, to market themselves, or to be able to attract customers or be able to advertise their services.
Well, I can use one that I know that Beltrade utilizes as well whenever they do their SME roadshows. And what that is that you first define what your business is. So you need to talk to the AI or send messages to the AI as if it was a person that you were speaking to, right? So you can say, okay, I am providing XYZ services, and this is what I'm looking for. Help me define what the 4 pillars of my business is, right? Insert that into the AI, they will give you a response. Depending on that response, you can edit it how you like, and then you could say, help me develop a social media plan or a social media a social media promotion based on the services that I provide. And you can tell it, give me 5 options, give me 10 options to choose from, and stuff like that, right? So it's quite easy, but it's kind of knowing what you're looking for.
Yeah. So using large language models, since we're talking artificial intelligence, I think you have to be very, very prompt specific.
Yes, yeah.
So that it narrows down to exactly what it is that you're asking the AI to do. Talk to us a bit about that in the context of marketing.
So we actually do have some help documents on our website, belizeanmarketeer.com, and we should be posting one by the end of this week, which will guide small business owners on different prompts that they can use to help them maximize their business. And that goes with helping them kind of understand what they're doing and the different prompts that they can use to guide them.
It's a little bit kind of weird. I'll use the word weird, right? Because I utilize the AI space sometimes, particularly like you said, if I want to, make a statement to sound a particular way and I don't have the words or so forth. I'm very friendly with my AI. I will say, yes, I talk to my AI. I'll say, good morning, how are you? And it'll ask me if I'm doing well. And we have like this cordial conversation, like if I'm chatting with a person. And then I will proceed to ask, to ask it to help me with certain things. And I've experimented really in being nice to my AI versus just asking it for a command. And kind of seeing what the results would be like. And it really does give you different results when you're nice to your AI. So you can't sit there, Shanice, and tell me they won't take over the world someday, because they really give you these results based on this cordial conversation that you're having and the precise information that you give it.
Let's say, it won't be today that they take over the world then.
Wow, they will. But in terms of in the way that persons utilize AI, and they don't only use it for marketing, of course, you can use it for any other field, right, and so forth. How can persons utilize AI and still, utilize critical thinking and analytical skills? Because a lot of students utilize AI kind of haphazardly to write essays and so forth that, are not presented well or not, accepted by academic institutions and so forth. So how can persons utilize AI in an efficient way and not lose certain skills from themselves?
I think that the number one thing here with that is online governance and knowing exactly what an AI is. So first, be informed, because there are, certain privacy concerns that each businesses have whenever they utilize the AI, right? So kind of knowing what you can use it for, what type of information you should be using it for, and what to get out of your prompts to not sound robotic, and knowing your business and knowing yourself.
Right.
I think what is equally essential for users to understand is that not because you could get on ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini or any of these other AI platforms that the information being returned to you is 100% accurate.
Right.
I always fact check.
Yes, you should. And I think it's in that vein that we use it to complement as opposed to supplement the analytical processes and the work that one inherently has to do to get the job done. Correct?
Yeah, think of it as your third leg, right? You need to use it to walk, but you don't necessarily need to depend on it because you have your 2 feet.
Right. And I think that when you're feeding this information, like Isana rightfully mentioned, precision is extremely important. You can't just say, create a proposal for Channel 5, because one, they don't know what Channel 5 is, and so they're going to give you this very generic proposal that doesn't have anything really to do with what you actually want.
It's the reason you need to be prompt specific,
right?
Right.
And so for persons that want to, learn how to, I guess, strategically structure the way they feed information to their AI, how can they do that?
All right, so we do kind of do a 3-step process here, right? So first is analyzing what you need to do. And when I say analyze, I mean know exactly what you need to get done. If it's a proposal, like you guys said just now, you need to know exactly what goes into a proposal, what you're looking for in the proposal to get out of it, and also the type of proposal that you're doing, right? So you need to have all of that information. And then the second step is to do your research. What do these types of proposals look like, right? And you can utilize Perplexity for that, because Perplexity is a research AI.
Right.
And then after you do that, then after you have all your information, then you can use a 5-prompt process, which is introducing to the AI what you need, having follow-up questions, fact check everything, use fresh eyes. So after you finish, maybe take a day or two to go over it once again. And then number 5, make sure that you have a secondary person in order for you to look at it and to make sure someone who's a specialist, I would say, to look at it and make sure that this is factual information.
I like that. I think that that's a great way to, I guess, organize ourselves when we're utilizing AI. But for persons that want to render services from Belizean Marketeer and so forth, Shanice, how can they get a hold of you, and what kind of services do you offer to persons?
All right, so we currently right now we're doing digital marketing packages and social media packages tailored for small businesses on our website, where you can go to Belizean Marketeer / I think it's packages or prices. And we have 3 main, right? So we have a smaller, a medium size, and a little bit larger. And these are tailored for Belizean businesses. It's in Belize dollars. And you guys can contact us at info@belizeanmarketeer.com or at our phone number 600-8949 for more information.
Okay.
Has there been demand or perhaps a particular request for these kinds of services from the local business community?
Yes, so last year we did a lot of research in regards to marketing in Belize and what the gaps are, and we have so many, but one of the main ones is that the smaller business who are not necessarily set up or ready to afford these services don't have a price range where they can start, right? So we kind of fixed everything to make sure that these services were still affordable to the small businesses, and we could still provide tailored services for larger enterprises as well.
I would imagine as well, Shanice, that for persons that might think that it's just to create a particular page and so forth and advertise their product or their services, there's a lot more to it than just that, yes?
Correct. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and marketing, search engine optimization is something, and I can tell you it has been a learning curve for a lot of our clients when they come on, because they don't exactly understand what they're getting, because we are a marketing agency, not a sales agency. And I think that a lot of people get the terms confused. And one of the things that we would like to clarify is that we do marketing for business in Belize. So we get the eyes to you, right? Yeah. We get the eyes to you depending on the keywords that you'd like to be optimized for, the business services that you provide. So we try to bring the customers to you. It's up to them to make the sale.
Yeah. Can you speak more a little bit about the search engine optimization?
Sure. So basically, search engine optimization is optimizing websites, social media, your online presence to make sure that you're seen online depending on what you're being searched for. A lot of people think that Google is this big search thing, but really it's indexing, right? So kind of like a phone book of how you old school look for phone numbers in a phone book, right? You first search by the letter S and it goes down by the way how it's named. So with Google, the way how it works is that the keywords that you put in is what comes up, right? So the more that we optimize these keywords on the website, the higher you rank.
Gotcha. So it's not, because when you used to search things on Google, I think persons would think that if it's on the first page or if it's the first link, then that's
first result that pops.
Yeah, that's probably the best one. But it's really just about search engine optimization.
Correct. It's really just about search engine optimization, optimizing your website and your online presence to make sure that you match the terms of the services that you provide. Because sometimes, and it's something that we've seen with a lot of Belizean businesses here, is that they would provide, let's say, tours, right? And all they have up is a static image, right? Google can't read that static image.
Right.
Yeah.
So your services would then assist that particular company in creating a website or a social media page and so forth, so that they can rank.
And the packages that we provide are wholesome packages that includes a little bit of everything, so that if you start smaller, you're still getting some sort of optimization out of it, right? So some sort of step forward.
Yeah. What are some of the businesses that you guys have worked with here in Belize, in terms of perhaps those that we would know or those that we may not know that are making a mark or a name for themselves on the local front?
So I've gotten permission from two main businesses to talk about them today. So we have Hest Realty, which is a large realty company here in Belize, one of the best. They provide all of these different services, and what we did for them is transform their online presence, transform their search engine optimization, and without doing ads or anything, they're one of the top ranking realty companies here in Belize right now because of our services, right? And they've seen an 80% turnover in regards to the keywords that they've been optimized for, right? So if you search realty company in Belize, stuff like that, they'll be one of the first to pop up without using any ads, right? And then we also have Hummingbird Estate Cabañas, which was kind of like a hidden gem in Dangriga that nobody really knew about. And right now their social media pages are doing really well.
As a business, why should I render your services? Why should I call you?
That's a good question. So if you're a business owner looking to elevate your marketing strategy in 2025, we want to work with you. We want to help you, and we'd love to share. We'd love to help you achieve your goals with customized solution that fits your budget and also fits your needs.
I like that. Well, Shanice, we are about to wrap up our conversation with you right now. And so for our viewers, just very, very quickly summarize why utilizing AI can assist them in their marketing strategy, and a little bit about how they can get in contact with you at Belize Marketeer.
So sure. So AI can help your business grow by enhancing your online presence, improving your SEO, kind of teach you how to do some of these stuff on your own so you don't have to rely heavily on paying for these services, and help you with different social media strategies to increase engagement and reach more customers. And you can contact us at info@belizeanmarketeer.com, or simply give us a call at 600-8949 for more information. And also look out for our blogs. We'll be posting monthly, and we have a couple freebies for everyone in the Belize community that can help you guys grow.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shanice. With that, we're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we'll be wrapping things up, so don't go away.
I'm Langzert, and I'm a teacher, and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is to see if the features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer. With these online that Belize Bank offered is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
Driving around, particularly during this holiday season, can be quite an experience. Families are out shopping and the streets are buzzing with excitement. It reminds me that this season is all about connections, and it starts with how we treat each other, even on the road. When I'm behind the wheel, I always remind myself that being on the road is more than just following the rules. It's about looking out for each other and making sure we all get home safely to our families. This season, let's continue to be alert and be kind on the road. Be courteous, give way, and stay safe. A message from BEL.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connections, pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Coming up, these chefs and mixologists produce their creative best for their biggest party yet. This steel band has been making a difference for over 40 years. An island filled with beauty, a vibrant culture, and an iconic natural attraction. Now, where can this be? It's all next on this station.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We just want to say a big thank you to all of our guests for stopping by, having the conversations with us this morning. A big thank you to the folks from the Belize National Forensic Science Service. And it seems like they're going to be having a lot rolled out in 2025. I think that we didn't get through everything that we wanted to talk about, but it seems that there's going to be a lot of new and positive developments coming out from their department.
It's interesting to see the work that has been done in that field in terms of their partnership with the Belize Police Department and of course the judiciary in solving crimes and prosecuting crimes.
We don't
prosecuting cases.
Yeah, we don't normally hear about them that much when we're hearing about the different cases and so forth that comes out of the court. But we know that there's substantial help when it comes to solving these cases. So kudos to them and all of the work that they've been doing for us here in Belize. And of course, our final conversation was about marketing using the artificial intelligence, and this is mostly done through the Belizean Marketeer organization. So a big thank you to Shanice Salazar, who is the owner and lead strategist at Belizean Marketeer. I'm still very afraid of using AI. I'm still very much nice to my AI because...
Be not afraid. It's the new wave. It's the way of the world.
I think it's more about, like she said, how we use it and how we use it to our advantage. They can't run without a human being behind it. And so we as humans have to find new skills and developments to assist our AI, to assist us. And of course, a big thank you to our viewers for tuning in, because without you, this would not be possible. It is January the 8th. A big happy birthday to you if it is your birthday today, from all of us here at Open Your Eyes and Channel 5. And if you have a birthday shout out or just a question or a comment, drop us a line right here at oie@channel5belize.com. You can also catch our live stream every day on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, and check out all of our highlights on Instagram at oie_belize. And of course, do us a favor and join us again tomorrow when you open your eyes
to start your morning right.
Be sure to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon, Belize. Have a wonderful day. Stay dry and stay safe. Bye.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.